The Florida Horse Podcast is presented by the Florida Thoroughbred Breeders and Owners Association.
Welcome to the Florida Horse Podcast, brought to you by the Florida Thoroughbred Breeders and Owners Association. I'm your host, Tammy Gantt. I'm joined today by our guest, Juan Carlos Feijoo Gonza lez, and he's with Hipispo.net and many other Caribbean and Latin organizations that lead the horse racing industry. So let's get started.
First of all, let me thank you for this opportunity to share my experience and my passion of the horse racing with you and with your audience.
El pasión es mejor, mucho mejor.
Mucho mejor.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So tell me a little bit about how you got involved, because I think when I was in Venezuela, everybody seemed to know and love horse racing and follow it daily. So tell me just a little short bit about how you got involved into the sport.
Because in Venezuela, the horse races are very popular. It's unusual in some countries. It's a
part of the popular culture.
Yes, it's popular because we have an bet in Venezuela. It's a 5 y 6, 5 and 6. 6 race is like a pick 6.
Yeah.
And you need to assert the 6 horses or 5 horses. But you can buy a house with the money, no?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of popular in Venezuela, and a lot of people. Somebody read for the first time with a Gaceta, with the the magazine of
that was
horses.
The first thing when I got off at the airport. Once I got through customs, the first thing I got was a La Gaceta.
La Gaceta, yeah.
Which is the handicapping guide.
It's like a Bible.
Yes, yeah.
If
you don't have one, you're really not.
The slogan is La Biblia del Hipismo, the tough Bible
exactly.
in Venezuela. And inside this magazine in 1979 appeared a trading cards, a collection of trading cards. I never see nothing about the horse races. My family is not we don't have connections with the horse races. And when I saw the trading cards like a child, I say, wow, it's a beautiful horse. It's Torrejon. Torrejon was a horse of the year in 1978. And when I saw the horse, I said, wow, it's beautiful horse. I keep the trading card. 2 weeks later, my father told me, Juan, Torrejon will run this weekend. And I said, well, let me check. In the black and white TV.
Yeah.
And when I saw the horse, I said, wow, and beautiful race. And I said, wow, Torrejon. The next week, the next Gaceta, I saw Torrejon. I cut the photo and I put the photo in the notebook.
Uh-huh.
And one thing, another race. I saw my first Kentucky Derby, was the spectacular beat in 1979.
Yeah.
And the next year, I remember one Sunday in the evening, the family goes to eat an ice cream. And I say to my parents, please, I need to see this race. It's the Caribbean Classic. It's the Clásico del Caribe in Venezuela. And in that time, Picotazo is a Mexican horse, last in the Belmont Stakes here in U.S. when won Temperance Hill.
Yeah, Temperance Hill, yeah.
Okay. Appear Picotazo, Lafitte Pincay Jr., and Lázaro Barrera.
Wow.
The affirmed trainer.
Yeah.
And I said, please, I need to see the races.
And you're preferring horse races over ice cream. This is a big deal for a little kid.
Yeah, and with 10 years.
Exactly,
with 10 years.
10 years old.
And when I saw the race, wow, Picotazo won. Our horses of Venezuela. Third, Sweet Candy. Remember, Sweet Candy came to the Gainesway farm. Yeah. And In is another horse. But the years passed. So
you never thought 40 years later you'd be in the federation with the Clásico del Caribe?
And in 2014, I am the organizer of the Caribbean Classic. For me,
amazing. It's like a childhood dream come true.
It's magic. For example, when I was a child, the trainers and jockey was my celebrities, and right now are my friends.
Yeah, it's amazing that you feel like when you don't know them, they're celebrities, but when you get to them, they're down to earth. They're people just like us that love horse racing, love the sport of horse racing, and love the horses. Yeah. And like you're naming off horses, Temperance Hill, I haven't heard that name in a long time. Of course, you mentioned Affirmed, which is the Florida's Triple Crown champion, and that connection with Laz, of course, which I think had a lot of Latins very excited. Yeah. And those connections with Lafitte Pincay, of course, Junior.
And after years, when I wrote my first book, the portrait was Torrejon.
Yeah,
of
course. The horse that started it all. I have it in the library. Yes.
And the introduction was writing for the only owner live in that time, Federico Carmona.
Yeah.
And for me, it's all magic in the horse racing. It's all magic.
And the Latin connection, obviously, and the Spanish connection is really the proximity to Florida, to the Caribbean, right? And to Venezuela and the racing countries, Mexico and all of those. But what's interesting is the connection also existed with jockeys, because Fred Hooper, who's a very famed person in the Florida thoroughbred industry, he actually he was one of the first to say, I'm going to bring Latin jockeys over that I saw. And Lafitte was one of those. And he's got a long list of folks. So they kind of got their start here, got their foothold. And I think then some of their fans followed them. And those people that moved to Florida, that live especially in South Florida, they really started to say, oh, I have connections to the track.
That was my role in the radio and in the TV and in the magazine in Venezuela in the late 90s, when arrived Javier Castellano, Ramon Dominguez, and Eibarcoa, for example. And in my program is an international information. Nobody knows about which is a claiming, an allowance.
So you have to do a lot of explaining and educating.
I try in that time to explain to audience, to Venezuelan audience, to Latin audience. And in the 2000, for example, in 2000, the February 7th, next week, I register episimo.net, my website.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yes. So for those that haven't visited, we'll put these things on the screen so people can look them up and see all the information that you're putting out there for people, and really gaining audience and fans and having fans of the sport.
And with a lot of collaborators from Argentina, from Brazil, from Chile, from Peru. I am the president of the ALCHI, is the Association of Latin American Journalists. Like NTWAB, for the Latin America.
That's super important, because when I was down in Venezuela, Abraham Aldano, and many people, when I was greeted by the journalists, they were really true fans. Nobody was doing it as a job or doing it to handicap. They really were true fans. I mean, you would get in long conversations about the horses and what horse got you involved. And like you say, you paid tribute to the horse by putting them on a cover of your book. And so I think those connections are really, really rich. And then, when you were mentioning some of the jockeys, I remember when Javier Castellano won his first Breeders' Cup with Go Zapper. Because he had a horse before that.
The race before, Ramon won the first for the Venezuelan jockey with Better Talk Now.
With Better Talk Now. And so what's amazing, though, is I remember Javi from Venezuela, because I knew some of his family members, and there was a video I saw when he was a young boy, and in Spanish he is watching, like in an old black and white TV, or maybe color but really distorted, and he's watching a Breeders' Cup Classic, and he turns, watching the race, cheering with his friends, probably Abel was there, and he turns, he goes, one day, in Spanish he said, one day I will win the Classic, I will win this. And I was in tears when he won it with Go Zapper, because he had a horse the year before at Belmont.
Remember the gray one, the gray filly,
and she did not get into the race.
In the paddock. I remember.
And she didn't make it into the race, and so I knew how disappointed they were.
I remember.
And so these are the type of stories that you see when someone's a child in another country going, my dream is to win these races. And we in America want to win those races, but there's just a passion that continues from childhood right through.
No, a lot of jockeys from Venezuela come here to U.S. Following the route of Javier and Ramon and Eibarcoa.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that also bodes for the folks. So we see a lot of people that are speaking Spanish that are over at the OBS sales right now. And they'll be at the OBS sales looking for those 2-year-olds in March and April and June. And so we're seeing more and more influx of folks like that influx of trainers that have been so popular and had great success down in South Florida.
In the trainers
so we've got Victor Barbosa Jr., who I had met in Venezuela, came over, and he had success for a number of years. The influence of a Venezuelan trainer in the Florida Sire Stakes this year. He's one of the ones I just saw. He's at the OBS sales, and they're looking at horses, because the Florida Sire Stake is a wonderful thing to aspire for too. So we're seeing that influx. And like you said, Antonio Sano, I mean, the list goes on of folks that are connected that have come out of the Caribbean and come out of the countries that are Spanish-speaking countries and getting horses.
Yes, it's the same like a jockey. Remember the jockeys, for example, Bill Gaviria was the first, but in the trainers too, the Aspurua brothers, Leo and Manuel Aspurua, Jose Garofalo, for example, and after that, the phenomenon was the same like a jockeys for the trainers.
For sure, Gaviria,
a lot of trainers came to U.S. to make the new career here.
Yeah, and we see many of them had great success. They got the
A
foothold,
lot.
and
Peter
not
Barbosa,
just come and race. They literally are on those leaderboards consistently.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from a lot of good horsemanship in the countries that they were in, and they were able to go through every facet of the industry. You know, a lot of times you're not specialized; you're going through everything from the breeding farm right up through training at the track and having a lot more horsemanship. Sometimes you're the person handling the horse the whole time as a trainer when you come through before you arrive to the United States and South Florida, Gulfstream, and Tampa, and in the past Calder. Yeah.
Yes.
So we've got just about another 30 seconds to wrap up. Is there anything else you would like for the folks on our podcast to know? Something they should be looking out for that you've got coming up? Or?
Yes, our new project is Telehismo. It's a streaming channel. My partner will be or is Ramon Dominguez, for example. He's involved in the project with another friend, and we broadcast some races. For example, in the last December, the Caribbean Classic. Next Saturday, the Pegasus World Cups, and in middle of April, we will be in Lima, in Peru, for the Latin American Classic, the Clásico Latinoamericano, with horses of Argentina, Chile, Brazil, Peru. And that's countries of the South. And it's our new project. And I'm trying to consolidate hipismo.net for the Latin American people or Spanish-speaking people in U.S.
Yeah.
And I want to promote the activity of the horse races worldwide in another countries, like for example, Spain. We will go for the 5th follow year to Saudi Arabia next month
for the
Saudi Cup and to Dubai World Cup, and I hope to go to the Japan Cup and everything, all for the people, for Spanish language
so
people.
You've got those that within the same time zone as us, North America, South America, and then you've got those other major markets. And I will say, having traveled to many countries, Japan, Hong Kong, and many around the world, what I have found is international journalists carry our bucket of water, right? So you are going and talking about Florida and Florida breds and the Gulfstream experience and talking about all those connections you have with the groups that you're involved in. But what that does is gets other people excited. And we see that. We see at OBS sales, 34 countries and every state except for Alaska purchases horses. Well, part of that is that conversation we all have around the globe when we travel.
Yes, I live right now in Miami, in Orlando, Miami, and always I try to come to OBS to cover and to put the live signal in hipismo.net, only for our people see to know the sales and the races and everything. And I wrote 3 books.
Yeah, and the books are available. So I'm going to have to wrap, but Juan Carlos, thank you for coming in. We could talk for hours.
Okay, thank you very much for you and all of your equipment.
Awesome.
The Florida Horse Podcast is presented by the Florida Thoroughbred Breeders and Owners Association.